Hello there, Larrys. It is I, the vicious scumbag. And across from me,
your honorable sensei.
And together, we are
Longturnlarry
Podcast. And we hope it's not Monday, because we're bringing you a snack cat that doesn't want to fight back. It's Ygra, eater of all, a.k.a. the thing that consumes all of Bloomburrow. Your cutesy wootsy stuff is now food.
Eat the frog.
This is going to be a blast. So sit back, relax, and get ready for some elemental cat nonsense. So we have Ygra, eater of all. 3 colorless, black-green for a 6/6 elemental cat with ward, sacrifice of food. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types and have, for 2 colorless and tap, a sacrifice is permanent, you gain 3 life. Whenever a food is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Ygra, eater of all. So, what are we trying to do here? So the cool part about this is Ygra makes everything else artifacts, and Ygra sees their things dying and gets bigger. And our stuff dies, Ygra gets bigger. So, just by playing this deck, the kitty will get big, you will kill things with the cat.
It's big as hell.
It's gonna be a big cat.
You know what I'm just thinking? Why did we both choose Calamity Beast?
We did. And they're beautiful.
We, all these cute little critters, and we just chose
The end
evil.
all. Yeah, the enders. Yeah. Yo, your shoreline definitely made Mermaid Man scream evil. So how we getting this big cat out? 5 isn't super heavy, but it's not cheap. So we got our damp ramp. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. We have our basic go-tos here. Cultivate, Rampant Growth, Nature's Lore, 3 visits. These are just going to be your basic ramp package. All of these are 2 and 3 mana. It's going to be important because we want to ramp beforehand to get Ygra out early. So ramping on 2 and 3 and 4 is going to be nice.
Got a goose. The goose is good. The goose is good.
The goose is good.
The Gilded Goose. It's a green for a bird.
Bird.
0/2. Flying. When Gilded Goose enters the battlefield, create a food token. 1 color in a green. You can tap it to create a food token. You can sacrifice a food, add 1 mana of any color. So we have that food that we can use to cast Ygra, and then, you know what? If we don't want the bird anymore, we can just use the bird.
Yeah, the goose is now able to be cooked.
Gets 2 counters and makes some mana for you.
This is like a conventional food deck that, you kind of get easy on what is and isn't a food. Honorable has a beautiful food deck, and I feel like, this is a different take on the food.
We
synergies.
are nothing alike.
Nothing. But we both love to eat. Of course, we have Soul Ring. Couldn't have it without it. And, this is just your basic. These are your most and easy includes. Sakura Tribe Elder, though. Normally, Steve is always just good. Steve is extra good now. Because Steve killing him, Steve sacrificing himself for the greater good of the cat.
Unaliving.
Yes, Steve unaliving himself to go get a basic land. Technically is going to be a food going into the graveyard if Ygra is out. So Steve is a free sack outlet. So, there's a lot of really cool cards.
Sack outlet. He just sack himself.
That's what I'm saying. It's faux free.
Crack his own neck.
Steve's like, oh, you need more trees here?
Oh, you need a swamp here? All right, I guess.
I guess.
White boy the Reliquary. He's black and green.
Wait a minute.
Like a certain vice president.
Oh, no.
It's a zombie knight. It's a 2/2 vigilance. White boy gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. You can sacrifice another creature, search your library for a land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So get 2 counters, get a land, make white boy bigger.
We get bigger zombie knight, fatter cat, and more land. I'll take it. And then, last but not least, Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. 3 colorless and a green for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token. But then it states foods you control have tap, add a green. That alone is just making all of our creatures when the Ygra out are, now Llanowar elves. But this final effect is also beautiful. 5 colorless, green, sacrifice Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. Creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of foods you control. This is technically like Stampede?
Yeah, without the trample.
Yeah, without the trample. But yeah. I don't think this is too horrible. It's good to get you on the ground running. The ramp is not super heavy, mainly because the curve of this is very beautiful. This thing has a very nice, smooth curve. You'll notice that you'll be able to play with pretty much a 2-mana to 3-mana hand without any problems. So now what we've done ramping, we need to get them dirty draws.
You're gross.
You need to get and refill these hands back up because we have probably blown it ramping and or playing these creatures that we're going to talk about next.
Ravenous Squirrel is a green-black creature. Squirrel. 1/1. Whenever a creature...
Ravenous.
Whenever you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on the Ravenous Squirrel for a black...
What is he
a
doing?
green,
I don't
and a
know.
colorless.
It's so
sacrifice
ravenous.
an artifact, a creature, gain 1 life, draw a card.
Look at him. He's got a whole smorgasbord. He's got a snake in a hand. And what is it? A tomato.
And he's also his own food.
Yeah. He himself can also self-service.
Ooh, delicious.
Ooh. Greta, sweet tooth scourge. Instead of fighting for us to not be in, a bunch of expensive airplanes creating pollution, she now hunts down candy creatures.
Oh, man.
For a colorless black and a green, we have a legendary human warrior 3/3 environmentalist. When Greta Sweet Tooth Scourge enters the battlefield, create a food token. And then for a green, you can sacrifice a food and put a +1/+1 counter on any target creature. And for a colorless and a black, you can sacrifice a food. And you draw a card and you lose a life. Again, beautiful card draw and some sack outlets. So Ygra's like, ooh, foods. Food died.
People. Cannibals. Trail of Crumbs is... I fucking love this card.
Oh, it's good.
Oh, man. 1 colorless and a green. When Trail of Crumbs enters the battlefield, create a food. Whenever you sacrifice a food, you may pay 1. If you do, look at the top 2 cards in your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, yeah, you crack a food, crack his neck back, pay 1, go get a permie.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. It's either we put it into our hand, no matter what, we're getting some type of advantage, and then Ygra's getting bigger. A lot of benefit.
In the background of everything that's happening, there's a looming threat just getting bigger and bigger with every action you take. And the next thing you know, your Monday's gone. Morbid Opportunist. 2 colors and a black for a human rogue. 1/3. Whenever 1 or more other creatures die, draw a card. This ability only triggers once each turn. Not our creatures. Only anybody's creatures. If it gets black, we getting it back. Let us draw that card.
Also not a May. So if you forgetful, hey, upgrade. Peregrine took 2 colorless and green for a legendary halfling citizen 2/3. If one or more tokens will be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional food token are created instead. We'll get into that later as to why that is nice, but for the reason he's with these dirty draws is for sacrifice 3 foods, draw a card.
I didn't know Peregrine was Pippin's real name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like Pippin's is a nickname?
Like Pippin from Lord of the Rings, his real name is Peregrine. That's him. Even though you really can't see it.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's him.
Poor thing. It's after Gollum took advantage of him.
Savvy Hunter, sort of what Gollum is. 1 colorless, black and a green for human warrior. 3/3. Whenever Savvy Hunter attacks or blocks, create a food token. Then you can sack 2 foods, draw a card.
Short, sweet, simple. Bring it back some meat, and then we're going to get some cards. I mean, hey, I'll take it.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Viridian Revel.
Ooh,
This is one of those like those number 1 cards that you put in the deck. You build the deck to put this in.
did so they can fit.
1 colorless green for enchantment. Whenever an artifact is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, you may draw a card. If they block, if they crack, if they block and crack.
We love this.
Dim draws.
Because we're just going to keep getting it. A lot of these too, like we're going to get card draw when it's not our turn and just they're interacting with each other. And you're like, yes, kill each other. Like, keep in mind, some of the stuff dying, not by you. Ygra's still happy.
I mean, even when Ygra ran out, they cracking treasures. Give me that.
Yeah, let me draw.
Every single one.
Yeah, it like, no, and these add up too. And then, we had to include them. We got Return of the World Speaker and Rishkar's Expertise. Return of the World Speaker, 4 colorless and a green. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. We need the card draw. This is based off of Ygra. It's going to give us a lot of cards. Or if we have a good sized board, this is just a big old +3/+3 board wide. Rishkar's Expertise is only one portion of the Return of the Wild Speaker. For 6 mana, we get to draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures we control, and then we may cast a spell with mana 5 or less without paying its mana value from our hand. You could Return of the World Speaker off of Rishkar's if you really needed to draw.
If you're insane,
you needed 42 cards. I get it.
42 card pickup.
And that is just, this is a good, we got our lands. We're knowing how to refill our hand. We're kind of seeing, Ygra makes everything a food. So just anything dying is what we want here. So I think this is a good time for us to talk about our Longturnlarrys. Oh, man. Honorable, you have to take the first one. You actually introduced me to this amazing, amazing card.
You biting off me. All these cards that I play. Cauldron Familiar. If you played in Eldraine Standard, you hate this card. But me, I love it. It is a black cat 1/1. See what I did there? Whenever Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. You can sacrifice a food, return Cauldron Familiar from your graveyard to the battlefield.
I mean, what else would you want? You got a commander that's like, ooh, foods, everything's food. And now you got a cat that's like, when I ETB, I hurt everyone, give you life. And then you got to kill the things that we already want you to kill. And then I come back and do it again and it's free. Oh, my goodness.
Be lucky we can't have 2 of these.
Oh, my goodness.
You would die.
Yeah, it would literally just
Cat. It would be cat food.
It would literally cat food. I see you. I see. Ooh, you see the Eugene bars were seeping through. All right, I see you. Scavenger's Talent. We got a new one. This is coming also from Bloomburrow. For just black, we have an enchantment class. So the very first one here that you started with is whenever one or more creatures you control die, create a food token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Then for a colorless and a black, we can level this up to now state whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. And then you can level it up to get this final effect added on for 2 colorless and a black. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanents. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. This Scavenger's Talent does everything Ygra wants us to do. We're going to make it to where we're already sacking things, which just means we're going to be making it bigger with the foods. Then when they die, we get food from it dying, which then gives us more food triggers and then more sacrificing triggers. And now we get recursion on top of it. Not much more you could ask for. This is a little tight house of everything the deck wants.
Beautiful. Let's talk about Peregrine, Warden of Isengard. It's a black and a green for a halfling advisor. It's 2/2. Whenever Pippin, actually, partner with Mary, you don't have to worry about that because Mary's white. You can't marry her.
Racist.
But Pippin has for colorless, you can tap it, create a food token.
Beautiful.
Sacrifice 4 foods. Other creatures you control get +3/+3 in haste until end of turn. Activate this only as a sorcery.
Pippin has killed me. I'd say like a
lot.
Yeah, a lot. And not only like a lot, it's very out of nowhere. It's like I played these things, this, and this, and then oops, 4 foods. And then you're getting swung at by like a good sized board.
The haste is so underrated.
Especially in your food deck was a what is
Well, it's Pippin and Mary.
no yeah, it's black, green, white, Abzan.
It's absent.
Yeah, it's Abzan with haste. Very unexpected. Pimpin', wanted under Isengard. Pimpin' Halfling advisor, baby. Ooh.
Girl, you better get on the corner of Isengard.
This again is, it does a lot of things that we want. We can go wide. We generate more foods, which then makes it to where we don't have to kill our own things. That's self-sufficiency. And it's a 2-drop. I got no complaints. I wish the creative food was just tap, if I could nitpick, and then put the colorless on its cost. Make him a 3-drop, and then I could just tap him for foods.
You're making my deck worse. Shut up.
Inspiring Statuary. 3 colorless artifact. Non-artifact spells you cast have improvise, which states your artifacts can help cast those spells. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating the mana ability pays for a colorless of that spell. AKA, if Ygra is out, you can tap any of your creatures to help pay for your stuff. Pseudo, mana dorks. This is just beautiful for what it is. It allows us to also tap foods if we make foods. So everything that we make can now help us pay for the rest of any of these costs.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you can't get around the colored pips, but hey, free mana is free. I'll take free.
Feasting Troll King.
Oh man.
I had a whole not Golgari. Why can't I remember my favorite color combination? Soul Tie,
baby.
Soul Tie combo food deck in standard, and he was the king of this. He would like make 3 food and put it to your graveyard as soon as possible, and you'd reanimate him on like turn 3. How you going to deal with a 7/6 on turn 3 in standard?
Vigilance Trample, no less.
Let's talk about him. He's 2 colorless, green, 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 green. That's green. Troll Noble. He's a 7/6 Vigilance Trample. Whenever Feasting Troll can enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, create 3 food tokens. You can sacrifice 3 food tokens, return the Feasting Troll King from your graveyard to the battlefield, activate only during your turn. This can be done in instant speed.
Yeah. And at the same time, like how is that a downside for this? Ygra makes Feasting and Cauldron Familiar just unfair. What was a requirement that you had to do something for, you no longer have to try. These things just recur. So beautiful. Feasting Troll King, Chef's Kiss. And same thing with Cauldron Familiar.
Chef's Kiss, the red card.
It is. And it's still beautiful. Don't worry, we'll talk about our chef soon. Curious Herd. 3 colorless and a green for an instant. That states choose target opponent. You create X 3/3 green beast tokens, where X is the number of artifacts that player controls. This is key. You're going to use this and target somebody who has a bunch of creatures. Because of Ygra, they are now all considered artifacts. So now you're going to match their board with 3/3s. This is like Azuri's Predation, but on a smaller scale, but for a lot less mana.
Man, why didn't we put that in here?
Azuri's?
Yeah.
Oh, we totally could.
Oh my, that would have been.
That's not a bad call.
Hey, another Longturnlarry, Azuri's Predation. You can just put it in here because it's really good. We've got the last card is Summoning Station. Oh man, this thing is broke. 7 colorless for an artifact. You could tap it, put a 2/2 colorless pincher.
Pinch.
Creature token into play. Whenever an artifact is put to a graveyard from play, you may untap the Summoning Station. Come on now. So you telling me if I got the station and the cat, I make Ygra as big as I want and I kill everybody?
Yep.
So the way this works is your colorless pincher, it's not naturally an artifact, it's just colorless.
Yeah, that's why this older artifact isn't quote unquote broken, because it doesn't make artifacts.
But it becomes one, and then you know, if you have the cat in your graveyard, it's really easy to put it into the graveyard. You can have the bird snap its neck. You can have something else snap its neck. You put it in the graveyard. You sack the pincher. Get the cat back. Get it. Untap the station.
Yep.
Get a 2/2. You gotta find, and you still have to find another. You still have to find like a
way to sacrifice the cat.
Sacrifice the cat over and over.
If you just have a food sack outlet, which there's tons.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of them.
Then that plus Summoning Station and Ygra equals you win. Because they'll die. They'll die from the drain.
They'll die from they're dead.
Such a very underrated card. I don't think I've ever seen Summoning Station ever in my life.
You know what? I recently saw it. Shout out to Spice 8 Rack.
Oh.
He had mentioned this card in one of the videos he did. Can't remember which one. I was watching it.
So we have our long turns. We got our big cat. So we got to make sure that we protect all that. So we got Uncle Protector. So Unc's going to protect us. So our first one up, and probably my favorite in the deck, we got Gnome Master Chef. 2 colorless, black green for a legendary troll warlock.
How did you say his name?
Guillaume.
Oh, I think you said Guillaume. I was going to say
Guillaume.
It's Guillaume. He's French.
Oh, he is a French.
Oh, he has a French mom.
He's a 4-drop 5/3 trample. Man's got hands. And at the beginning of your end step, create a number of food tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. So as long as we're playing things, he's going to reward us with food. But the real reason that I think he is just incredible is for a colorless sacrifice of food, target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. You tap that creature. We don't care about the tap port. This is Ygra protection for a colorless, and it's indestructible, and Ygra's already hard to target. So, no. The Master Chef, Master Chief, he's doing his job.
He is the Master Chief. Lightning Greaves. That's all I'm going to say.
Lightning Greaves.
Lightning Greaves. Heroic Intervention. 1 colorless and a green. For an instant, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible to end a turn.
I think you know why we're running it.
Don't touch my stuff, Kami.
Oh, psh. It's my cat, and you can't touch it.
Yes.
Revitalizing Repast. Colorless or a green for an instant, or it could be a green or a swamp, a forest or swamp land. But on the instant side, it's put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. We're just trying to land. We're just trying to keep Ygra safe. This one could have been a land, so if you really need it, you can hold it. And then if you're in dire need and you're getting mana screwed, play it as land. If not, it's a 1-drop version of Heroic that can save Ygra. So you want to keep that in.
Let's sack that. Sack that, sack that.
Yay!
Sack that, sack that.
Help
Here's
me.
all the stuff over here. We'll sack a thing or two.
Help me, please.
Bring all the food to Ygra. He'll eat you about noon.
I got food,
Sack
please.
that, sack that. Sack that, sack that.
Please.
Oh, Witch's Oven. 1 colorless for an artifact. You can tap, sacrifice a creature, create a food token. If the sacrificed creature's toughness was 4 or greater, create 2 food tokens instead.
This is we're just doubling down. Because then Ygra's like, oh, food. Then he made food, and because food, you get food. Like there's just no downside to this. Witch's Oven, we love you. Ashnods and Phyrexian, arguably going to do the exact same thing. These are 3-drops artifacts that say sack a creature for free and get mana. One gives 2 colorless, which actually allows us to use the food activation cost. And then the Phyrexian altar allows us to mana fix if we're ever missing a color as well.
And if you don't have Ashnods, you can use Clark Clan Ironworks.
Yep, Clark Clan Ironworks works as well because the same concept.
But it's not as good because sometimes Ygra's not out and I want to kill them before the cat comes out.
Exactly. Situationally not as good.
Wait, is that Phyrexian altar as a creature? Warren Soul Trader, 2 colorless and a black for a zombie, goblin, wizard, creature types. 3/3. Pay 1 life, sacrifice another creature. Create a treasure token.
It's so good. It's so good. Me and Honorable talked about it when this was when we were leaking it. I was like, I need 3 of them. At least, give me at least 3 of them.
I still need to get some.
I only have 1. I've only been able to get 1. Oh, and it's so good.
How much is it?
Like $5 for a foil, $3 otherwise.
Oh, why would I get a foil? You're just gonna make it worse.
That's right. I love curling and not the Olympic sport. Bristlebud Farmer. 2 colorless, green for a plant druid with trample. 5/5. He says whenever he enters the battlefield, create 2, count them, 2 food tokens. And then whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, mill 3 cards. You may put a permanent card from among them into your hand. We got a lot of recursion. We got tons of ways to get things back. We like stuff dying. And at the same time, we like sack outlets and making more food. So, no, Bristlebud Farmer is right by me.
You've ever played Final Fantasy X?
No.
Well, if you've ever played Final Fantasy X, there's a summon that Yuna makes. It's called Anima. This thing looks just like that, and it's giving me nightmares. I do not like this thing.
What, Bristlebud?
Yeah.
Is it evil?
It is evil. Y'all remember you was talking about recursion?
Oh, how we gonna get it back?
We're going to get it back. We're going to get it back in blood.
In blood.
With Mirren of Clan Nel Toth. 2 colorless, black, green, human shaman. Whenever another creature you control dies, you may get an experience counter. At the beginning of your instep, choose target creature card in your graveyard. If that card's mana value is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you control, return it to the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand.
Good, repeatable, doesn't take any extra effort. This is just lovely. On that same note, we have the next goat for 4 as well. The Ruthless Technomancer. 3 colorless and a black for a human wizard 2/4. When he enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature you control. If you do, create a number of treasure tokens equal to that creature's power. And then for 2 colorless and a black, you may sacrifice X artifacts. Return target creature card with power X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. X can't be 0. Ruthless and Mirren are allowing us to not only make more tokens and recursion happen, it is repeatable. They're going to continue to do it. So these things that we're sacking that aren't just instantly coming back, yeah, they're going to make these something pretty hard to get rid of cards.
Ewit. Yeah, it's here. You know what it does. Ewit. Lich Knight's Conquest. 4 colors and a black for a sorcery. Sacrifice any number of artifact enchantments and or tokens. Return that many creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. You thought you board wiped me, you dirty bastard? No, you didn't. I still have all these food.
Yeah, Lich Knight's Conquest is definitely a shoop de whoop. You thought you did something, and no. And look, I just got everything back. No. Lich Knight's Conquest is a very, very underrated card.
Now, before we even get started on the next one, there's a dog here that belongs somewhere else.
I put him in the right spot.
But he gonna be removed that thing. Wicked Wolf, 2 colors, green for a wolf. Whenever Wicked Wolf enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Sacrifice a food. It gets +1/+1 counter on Wicked Wolf. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it. So when it comes in, if you really want to kill something, you just keep sacking food before, the fight happens, and then big chomp.
Ow. And indestructible. So no matter what, it's going to win the fight. Love it. Wicked Wolf is very good.
Beat him up.
He going to eat him.
Eat him up.
So we talk about how we going to sack that. We talked about how we going to protect them and draw. Now we're going to talk about what we going to be sacking. Because we need a bunch of things to be foods. So remember, we love all those little Bloomburrow boys. And that's where you guys come in. See, the enemy decks, that's all the food we're going to go after. But we got food in our own playground to go and mess around with. So, starting off, we got Bitter Blossom. Colorless into black for a incredible tribal enchantment fairy. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and get a 1/1 Black Fairy Rogue token with flying. We don't really care about the type. We could be relevant. We don't care that it has flying. We care that it can swing and that when it dies, it was considered a food.
Fairies aren't food. Fairies are friends.
They are friends.
Till I get hungry.
Until I'm starving.
Jadar, good color of Nephilim, Necromania, Necrophilia.
Or Necromunda.
One color in a black for a human wizard. It's a 1/1. At the beginning of your instep, if you control no creatures with Decayed, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. We are going to swing the zombie every turn.
Yep.
It is going to make Ygra bigger.
And hey, it's 2 damage. That's free. There's no downside. Remember, Ygra is not a sit back and play deck. This is a we go hard, you go after them. Oh man, the duo. We have Camilla, the Seed Miser, and Chatterfang, the Squirrel Generator.
That's her hubby.
That is definitely her hubby. I will take Camilla, you take the hub. So, Camilla the Seed Miser is a colorless black-green for a 3/3 squirrel lock that has Menace. Other squirrels you control have Menace, and whenever you sacrifice 1 or more foods, create a 1/1 green squirrel. And then for 2 colorless, you may forage, which is you may either exile 3 cards from your graveyard or sacrifice a food. If you pay 2 colorless and forage, you may put a +1/+1 counter on each other squirrel you control. And who does she, of course, perfectly synergize with?
Her man, Chatterfang. Squirrel General, 2 colors and a green Squirrel Warrior. You warrior. It's a 3/3 with 4 swap. If 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens are created instead. For black, sacrifice X squirrels. Target creature gets -X until end of turn.
+X and -X.
Oh, I couldn't see it. Sorry. +X, -X until end of turn.
Mm-hmm. A calculated pump for you or a calculated removal for them.
Are we going to talk about, like, since the food are squirrels, if you have a sack outlet.
Yes, you're correct.
Infinite food?
Camilla goes infinite, yeah. The 2 of them together makes it go infinite.
I mean, you don't need Chatterfang for this. Talking about Ygra.
Oh, yeah. Ygra and Camilla goes infinite.
With a sack outlet.
Yeah. Because you sack a food, it gives you a squirrel. The squirrel's now a food. You sack that squirrel, which gets a squirrel. Yeah. No, Camilla, Ygra is an infinite.
I mean, if you had Chatterfang, then you have infinite squirrels.
Yes, you do. Wow, that's a 2-card infinite.
3 card.
No,
4 card.
I'm saying just Ygra, Camilla. Like that's technically you can
3 card. You need a sack outlet.
Oh yeah, you need a sack outlet, but still 3-card that's not bad.
That's not bad. Horny squirrels.
Experimental Confectioner, aka it's like Remy, but instead of making souffles or he making cakes. 2 colorless and a black for a human peasant. Yeah, that's why no one buys your cakes. It's a 2/3.
Wow. You a damn what we call you, a trader? A clash trader?
Clash trader.
A clash trader, like middle class?
Oh my
lower
goodness.
class? You a clash trader talking about peasants?
No, I'm talking about the fact that he got rats in the kitchen. I don't like your rat food. When he enters the battlefield, he create a food. And then whenever you sacrifice a food, oh no, this one does it too.
Yeah.
Whenever you sacrifice a food, create a 1/1 black rat that says this creature can't block. Yeah, this one in a Ygra and a sack outlet goes infinite. Holy crap. Didn't realize there were 2 of these.
You're welcome. As soon as I saw the card, I knew it.
I knew it as soon as I read the card.
Ophiomancer, 2 colors and a black for a human shaman. The beginning of each upkeep, if you got no snakes, create a 1/1 black snake with Death Touch. You want a sack outlet because you want to kill the snake every time it goes around and then do some stuff and make Ygra big.
Yep. That way, one go around the table, Ygra's getting +8/+8, making it a 14/14. Tender Shoot Dryad, everyone's favorite, 4 colorless and a green Dryad. Ascend, if you control 10 or more permanents, you get City's Blessing for the rest of the game. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green sapling, and then saplings you control will get 2/2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. Again, this is just food fodder that we're just going to keep making as it goes around the table, and open blockers.
This is for our vegans.
That's right.
Beladros Witherbloom, 5 colorless, black green for Elder Dragon, flying. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest token with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. You can pay 10 life, untap all your lands, activate only once each turn.
Beladros is just the queen of, I'm going to make a bunch of tokens. And then, there's an incentive of when they die, they already give you life. This fits right in.
That means if you were to crack a pest, it would give you 3 life. And then because it died, it gave you an additional life. So you're getting 4 life off a pest.
4 life off a pest and 2 counters to Ygra.
No, yeah.
It's incredible.
I was thinking 4, but
we have
Ygra's big,
yes,
very big most of the time. Doesn't have trample.
Very sad.
We gave it trample.
Gotta make sure it had the ability.
Shadow Spear. Don't know how a cat keeps a spear in her mouth, but it does. Legendary artifacts. Equipment, that's 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. No one cares about the secondary effect, but permanents your opponents control have hexproof for 1 mana, permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Hey,
I am dumb.
when
Equipped for 2.
when they're trying to protect that artifact or they're one of their creatures, you're like, aha. Shadow Spear is a really good one for that because I forget it does that. Next is Garruk's Uprising. This is an all-star card. Definite must include. I'm surprised it's not more expensive. 2 colorless and a green for an enchantment. It says when it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you draw a card. Whenever a creature you control with power 4 or greater enters, draw a card. And then creatures you control have trample. Blanket trample. Gotta love it.
That's all we wanted.
That's right.
Honored Dre leader?
Mm-hmm.
They forgot about Dre?
Steel.
2 colors to the green for Squirrel Warrior. I'm a warrior.
Steel.
So 1/1 with triple. Whatever Dre leader
Steel.
enters, put a +1/+1 counter for each squirrel and food you control. Whenever another squirrel or food you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Honored Dre leader.
Steel. This one is, I feel like, going to be it might not be that bad. And then out of nowhere, it's just massive. It's just naturally going to get bigger, just like Ygra. You just play the deck, and then Honored Steel is going to get bigger.
Yeah, just like Dre did.
That's right. He's still around.
He's still swole.
Provisions Merchant. 2 colorless, green for a 3/3 peasant beast. He says, whenever he enters the battlefield, create a food token. And then whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, attacking creatures get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. Again, we get a food sack outlet, and we're getting blanket trample, and we're getting that extra 1/1, and we made a food on our way in. Gotta love it. These are so very good. Now, this deck we didn't want to be a solitaire aristocrat deck. We did not want that. We wanted this to be more aggro and more interactive. So there is only 4 cards that are artifacts that are the aristocrat carrying side.
Disciple of the Vault. Didn't know he was from Fallout. Black. Human Cleric 1/1. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may have target opponent lose 1 life. Thank you.
Blood Artist.
What?
Oh, they should know. But if they don't, I'll say this last time, because it's so used, you should know by now. A colorless and a black for a 0/1 vampire. It states whenever Blood Artist or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain a life.
Oh, you were trying to do the thing that I did.
Yeah. I got to bite off.
It is a food deck.
That's right.
Marionette Apprentice and Marionette Master are the same person.
No way.
Marionette Apprentice, 1 colorless and a black for a human artificer. Fabricate 1. Whenever this creature enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it, or create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. That will also be a food.
Ooh.
Haha. Whenever another creature or artifact you control is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Now, when she get a little bit older, she get a little bit thicker. 4 colors and a black for a human artificer. She get a little bit more booty. She a 1/3. Fabricate 3.
BBL dresser. That's what that +1 on the defense came from.
Whenever an artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master's power. I wish it was her booty.
But they do have Fabricate 3.
But
at least we have Fabricate 3, so we could put 3 +1/+1 counters, making,
and we can make her bigger through other ways.
other means, yeah. So no, Marionette Master can make it to where like one thing dying. You had mentioned it earlier. Your goal is to put them in a predicament to where if they block, they might die, and if they don't block, they die. And so they have that's what's going to make it hard to kind of decide when you're swinging.
I mean, and if you feel like, AFKing, you can just, sack your entire board while Marionette Master's out. They're going to die.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to come back to that remove that thing.
That's right.
It's got to die.
We got Nature's Claim. We got to bring it back to the ground. We're going to turn it into ashes. For just a green, we have an instant, plain and simple, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. This now just turned into for a singular green, destroy target creature, and they gain 4 life.
This is almost like a Swords to Plowshares.
But in green. Green to Plowshares.
Assassin's Trophy, a black and a green for an instant. Destroy target permanent opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
It sucks. We got to play nice and give them something for it. But I guess a land isn't the same as that really key piece of whatever we just got rid of. Next is Manglehorn. 2 colorless and a green. Whenever this 2/2 beast enters the battlefield, you can destroy target artifact. And then artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. As if us destroying it when we came in wasn't enough.
Yeah, it feels like these are like white effects, but in green because they're artifacts. Yeah.
Because Ygra was like, let me help with that.
Let me see. Soul Shatter. Instant. 2 colors. Black. Each opponent sacrifice a creature or planeswalker with the highest converted mana cost among creatures and planeswalkers they control. This is really to hit the things that we can't hit maybe sometimes.
Yeah. Soul Shatter's here for the indestructible, elusive, hard to remove stuff. Most of the time, they're the most expensive. Most of the time. Yeah. It's to try to get slippery things.
You're just going to hit them with a cat.
That's right. If you can't get the thing, smack them with a cat. 3 colorless and a black for a squirrel lock. We got Hazel's Brewmaster. So we get a 3/4 with Menace that states whenever it enters or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and create a food. Foods you control have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Hazel's Brewmaster. So you can do now I don't recommend this, but you can exile your own stuff with Hazel, but most of the time we're probably going to be exiling others.
I mean, I have a feeling like this makes an infinite combo somehow, but I don't know how.
I bet we could, but...
I bet it's in here. I just don't know what it is. Man, this big black gorilla should have been a Larry. You should have been.
You know what? He is.
He's an honorable Larry.
He's an honorable
we
Larry.
saved the best
for last. That's what it was.
Silverback Elder.
He's so good.
2 colors. Green for Ape Shaman. He a 5/7. Whenever you cast a creature spell, choose 1. Destroy target artifact or enchantment.
Just
look at the top 5 cards in your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tap. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Or you gain for life.
I wish he was legendary. I wish he was.
I am so happy he's not legendary.
I know. It literally would be the ultimate like hose artifact enchantment commander. He'd be gross. Oh no. It's cast. It is cast. It's not enter. So at least it would be on cast.
Come on, dog. You know, Khajiit has wares.
Khajiit has cheats.
Khajiit definitely be cheating.
Yes, Khajiit could cheat. And then we had to include, because the cat don't want to eat all this food on a dirty plate. Oh no. We need that board sanitation. Now these are some unconventional board wipes. Well, one of them is not, but we have Creeping Corrosion. For 2 colorless green, destroy all artifacts. Ygra is, of course, going to be nice enough to make everything else an artifact. So what's really nice about this is it turns Creeping Corrosion into a mono green version of like a Phyrexian... what's it called? The white board wiped where you pick a creature and destroy the rest.
Oh, you're thinking of, I don't know. I don't care.
Can't remember. But this is making it to where Ygra won't die, but the board will. And then Ygra will be massive, and there's no creatures to be able to respond to Ygra. And Ygra says to target it, you have to sacrifice a food. There now are no foods for you to sacrifice, giving it technically hexproof. You get to pick one person, and I suggest you pick the person that it has the most threat to you, and you kill them, because Ygra will be a kill shot after this.
Kill him, man. Kill him. Why'd you do that?
Because Ygra hungry.
Fade from history. Ygra is going to give you the greatest fade from history. If you let this resolve, 2 colors green. For sorcery, each player who controls an artifact or enchantment Creates a bear. It's a 2/2 creature token. Then destroy all artifact and enchantments.
There you go. You get a bear. It's a constellation bear.
It's a blocker. You better get something next turn.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not as powerful as creeping, but it's still just that glorious. This one covers artifacts and enchantments. So it does kind of go above and beyond here. Not really something that we're worried about. We can definitely blow up our own stuff. Don't be afraid to let our board kind of take a little hit. Ygra cares about all of it dying. And last but not least, the Toxic Deluge. 2 colorless and a black for a sorcery as additional cost to cast a spell, pay X life. All creatures get -X until end of turn. All you really need to do is just make sure that this isn't going to kill Ygra. And that's it.
You're gonna die.
You're going to die by the cat.
Live by the cat, die by the cat. That's what John Arbuckle.
So just to give the overview here, we're trying to hurry up and ramp early. We want to get out as many creatures as we can and ramp as best we can to get Ygra out on turn 3 or 4. Then our goal is to just create as many foods or creatures as we can and sacrifice them as we go and swing haphazardly. As things die, Ygra gets big. We naturally are going to gain size from other opponents swinging on each other. And then we hold our board wipes and removal for those key points to where we're trying to one-shot that final opponent. What are your thoughts, Honorable?
Garfield.
It's definitely Garfield. He needs his snacks.
Lasagna.
That's right, lasagna.
I love lasagna.
We're trying to make sure we keep you guys up to date on some new commanders here. So I had to hit you with that Bloomburrow special. Of course, there's some cards here that we felt like we could have gone with. Ygra definitely has a couple of ways to be built. This is more leaning towards a jack of all trades. And I hope that you guys like this food iteration of Ygra, eater of all.
Now you better like, comment, subscribe, or I'm gonna be mad. Not that bad.
Oh, my bad. I'm down bad.
I'm trying to be like, you better do it.
He's too powerful. Please.
I'm gonna come after you.
We better get those likes, subscribe, and some love, Larrys. Because we do it for you.
Check out our Moxfield too.
Because we put all of our decks and these cards so you can view them and follow along. That way you can also just buy them as well if you really like the idea of the deck that we created.
Again, I am your honorable sensei.
And I am the vicious scumbag.
And together we are
Longturnlarry Podcast.
Bitches.